Sure.
Okay. Hello. Hello,
Hi.
Thomas. Or should I say, Seraphym? How are you? And just introduce yourself a little bit, please.
Sure. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Although I just woke up and all of a sudden I started sneezing, and so, but no, I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me. Um, yeah, my name is Thomas Crawford, the primary uh, songwriter, composer for Seraphim, and yeah, I'm coming to you from Columbus, Ohio. I'm currently live in Los Angeles, but I just played a private outdoor kind of festival
Cool.
in the Midwest. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Got an old friend of mine from back in my early days when I lived in Cincinnati, Ohio, reached out and asked if I was available to come fly out and headline this festival that he puts on. So I came out, and now I'm kind of hanging out with some friends for a couple of days before I fly back home to Los Angeles.
hmm Okay, cool. So,
Yeah.
because because of COVID-19, the scene over here is dead.
Mhm.
I'm in Germany, so that
Mhm.
sounds good. That you still can at least get out a little bit and do something. But it was a private one. So, how many people were there in attendance,
Probably about,
approximately?
I'd say between approximately 1 to 200 people,
Okay.
um, yeah, off and on. Uh, but most of it was, I mean, it was on a really big farm,
hmm
uh, and there was a lot of camping and stuff. So did our best to social distance, wearing masks,
hmm
lots of hand sanitizer, lots of elbow bumps. Um,
I see.
but but yeah, it was good. I was pretty fortunate. Like there's there's not very many shows, if
hmm
any. So I was really fortunate to be able to do this. Um, but yeah, we're still very much on lockdown in most of the places in the United States. So
hmm
um, yeah, I think the only reason this was able to happen was because it was someone's property in the middle of nowhere. So
hmm
yeah,
Okay, but so if it's in the middle of
but
nowhere, so it was a big turnout for some way. I guess you know I have a feeling that people are really now hungry because for the first time we really see what we have in normal times, and how fortunate you can be that you can go to a show and sometimes in the past I thought like, oh, another show, and do I have to go, and now I'm like yearning to go to one. I would support whoever goes on, even if it's just a blues band or some ska. I would not usually go. I would support it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like I think it's probably the one thing. I'm an extrovert. I love socializing with people. I love
hmm
going and hanging out. And this has been this has definitely been messing with me a lot. But yeah, I've been dying to play shows. I actually I guess just a little bit of background about myself.
hmm
So I was really big into, like, I played a lot of shows. I was in a lot of metal bands in Cincinnati, Ohio, and Huntington, West Virginia. When uh, in my mid to late 20s, and then I stopped playing music for quite a while. I had was received custody of my children, so a lot of my time was just really focusing on like a stable career and being able to provide for them.
hmm
um, they grew up and went off and did their own thing. So, in my late 30s, I decided to get back into it. I hadn't played music live in over 10 years. And then July of last year, I was able to play my first show um, in over 10 years. And then I was playing a show like every couple of weeks, every month. And then COVID-19 happened. and nothing, just dead.
Hmm.
It's like I was just getting the momentum started back up, and then I had to put the brakes on it. So
Hmm.
it was a little weird, but yeah, I was really fortunate to be able to do this. But I can't wait to go to actual concerts as a concert goer. And
Hmm.
I had tickets to see Rammstein. They were coming to LA.
Oh man, that sucks.
Yeah, yeah. I
Hmm.
was I love those guys. I saw them in Las Vegas like 3 or 4 years ago. It was the best show I ever saw in my life. And when I heard
Hmm.
they were doing this huge stadium tour, it's like, yeah, I gotta go.
Yeah, of
And
course, of course. Oh man, this really sucks. So, yeah, so basically you just started back up again, and you know, after taking the children hiatus,
mhm.
and yeah, and then that's very unfortunate. But otherwise, how are things? Your um, how do I do? So for you, it's just a hobby, right? So it's not you're not just explain it when you know this is a question to you. Um,
Yeah.
can you live from music already, or how do you cope
Uh,
music financial
uh,
wise?
Financial wise, definitely not. I'm still very much in the early stages. I wouldn't say this is a hobby. I would say it's kind of as we say in the States, a side hustle.
Hmm.
You know, I have a primary job. I work. I'm a director for training and quality for a an online dating company.
Okay,
Um, I,
okay.
I'm I'm not going to say which one just because I don't know what their stipulations are, but
Okay.
uh,
Once we're off the air, I want to get some tips, right?
you know,
No,
I'll
okay,
do what
okay.
I can.
No. It's just you know, I'm married. I'm fine. I'm done in this department. So anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no
I think
worries.
it's funny.
Yeah, so, and then, I mean, that's definitely a really good, income.
Hmm.
But I've always been trying to do music on the side, and, you know, I want to get it to a point where it could be, you know, a primary source of income and figure out ways to diversify. But I'm pretty fortunate with the job that I have and the boss that I have, that like they're totally accepting of like my time and flexibility on like where I like I'm obviously, thanks to COVID-19, you know, it's forced a lot of companies to figure out and adapt on how to
Hmm.
be able to work from home. And so I, you know, I'm able to work from, you know,
From everywhere,
like I said,
basically. Hmm.
basically, yeah.
Hmm.
So like I'm staying a week at a friend's house in Columbus and can work from here. So with that, like you know, my manager is very understanding and accepting of, you know, if I ever get an opportunity to go on a tour or, you know, take some time off, like, you know, I'm in a place where I can make arrangements and still able to sustain my income. So um, yeah, it's a pretty good gig. Um, but yeah, financially, no, I would say like this is still very much just getting started. I think uh, it's been an interesting, I guess, evolution.
Hmm.
Seraphim has been, and how it's got to this. But I would say, um, like, I guess if I can take it back to kind of the beginning on when I started, the concept of Seraphim was it came from a discussion I was having with my wife. You know, I in my 20s I was in all these bands in like 2 or 3 different states and regions. She sat down and she was like, if you could create a super group or a band of people that you've been in bands with before, like handpick different musicians, who would you have? And I was like, oh, that's an interesting concept. So I just started talking about like, oh, I would totally have this guy do vocals, I'd have this guy as a drummer, I'd have a guy I would have two other guitar players. I would have this guy play bass. And I got to thinking about it. And this was right at the start when like early virtual collaboration, like it wasn't to the level it is now.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, and all these people, they lived in different areas. Like, like if you were to drive by car, it would take you 2 hours any direction to get to any of these people's places. So, I contacted these 5 other guys and they're all down for it. And so, I had a laptop, had Pro Tools, and I started writing guitar riffs. And I was, recording these guitar ideas and sending them off to these guys, and did this for about 6 months. And every time we would try to like schedule group sessions, like we would all meet at somebody's house,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd make a whole weekend thing of it. Every time we would go to try to schedule that, something would always fall through. And then after a while, I noticed I was spending, 90% of the effort and the time was coming solely from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was starting to get a little bummed by it. And then I got introduced to this program because I'm not a drummer. Like I'm not a drummer at all. And that was kind of like the big headache was how do I get, like I can write guitar riffs, but I can't write full songs without, other parts. And someone introduced me to a program called Easy Drummer, and it completely changed. Oh, it completely changed my life. It's like it is literally what it says it is. You get these. You can get these. It's a program that it's a plug-in that you can put into any of your recording software, and it's basically MIDI, but it's MIDI recorded by live drummers, so it sounds natural.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got these ways in which you can like come up with a riff idea, and you can like kind of give a little bit like a kick snare, and based off of that pattern, it'll match it to the MIDI library and tell you like what it is, and then you drag it into this other thing, and it'll come up with like dozens of matching parts. So it made it really easy for me to actually start composing. So after I got this program, I started composing songs. I'd come up with a guitar riff, and I would try to find a matching drum pattern, put it in, and like within a month of me getting this program, I wrote songs.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like from beginning to end. So I just kept doing more and more with it. And then slowly but surely, people started falling off. Like, the drummer would fall off, the bass player wouldn't respond to any emails. Mm-hmm. And finally, I was like, you know what? I can't rely on anybody. I'm just gonna write it all. So, and actually, the name Ceraphym, it's a respelling. Like it's not actually the traditional way of spelling Ceraphym, but Ceraphym is a mythical type of angel that has 6 wings. And the whole concept was, there would be 6 band members, so 6 wings and whatever, come up with this logo and all this stuff. And then they started dropping off. And I'm like, well, I'm still keeping this. This is, badass concept. And so I went along with it. Yeah. And then at the time I was working for Amazon. I was in their training and learning development. And I got an opportunity to move from West Virginia to Seattle, Washington, on the other side of the country. So I moved the family, and we moved on over to Seattle, and tried to do like, I continued writing the music and, putting it all out there. And I was still trying to find a vocalist. Like I'm not a vocalist. I wanted to find someone in here to kind of complement that. And I was looking for musicians to play my music live. but I wasn't looking for contributors. I was looking specifically for
Hmm.
hired guns.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
here's my
Like a
music. I just
cast
want you
band,
to
or
learn
you
my
you
music.
just
And
okay. Hmm. Got it.
exactly, exactly. Found a drummer for a while, who was really good. His name was Matt. Um, and then, he learned like 6 or 7 of the songs. And then, I continued to write songs and write songs, and I kept on trying to come up with ways in which we can minimize the amount of musicians we needed. Um, you know, he slowly started losing interest as well. Like, he had other priorities and stuff like that. Um, and then the defining moment for me was like I was really getting frustrated because I'm putting all this effort and I really wanted to play live. Like, that was the
Hmm.
thing. And I went to a concert. I went and saw a band called Within the Ruins, um, which is a kind of like a progressive kind of techie type, um, metal band from Massachusetts. And I had like a beat and greet package and whatnot, and we're all sitting there, watching the band play. They only have one guitar player, and they're doing like their round check, and I'm hearing 3 guitar parts, but only one guitar player. And I was a little, yeah, like it's like how is he doing that? And he come off stage and everyone's asking like their typical like, oh, what's your favorite band? What do you do in your off time? Blah blah blah. And I went up to the guitar player. I'm like, dude, how are
How
you?
did you do it?
Where are the other guitar tracks on this? Like,
Hmm.
how are you? Yeah, how are you doing this? He's like, excuse me. I was like, yeah, how are you running your backing tracks? And he was just
Tell
like,
me all your secrets.
it was like, yeah, he was like, no one's ever asked me that.
Hmm.
So he took me up on stage and he showed me a setup. He was like, and how he had Pro Tools and running this, and they had a click track and all this stuff. And I'm like, and they used to have multiple guitar players, but they started dropping off. And he was like, I'm not going to hire another one. I'll have all those guitar tracks recorded and we'll run to a click. I was like, well, that's actually an interesting concept. But I wondered, like, are people like it or not? And then I went to a couple of other shows, and again, I'm noticing these bands that only have one guitar player, and they're still like you're hearing
Hmm.
multiple guitar parts. And even like for me, I'm not a lead guitar player. Like, I can do some melodies and stuff like that and can lay it down, but I can't like constantly do that live. I'm more of like I love the rhythm chunkiness
Hmm.
and being
Yep.
able to just bounce around on stage and
Yep.
show that energy. And I saw this band that like it the guy, like, I was hearing lead guitar parts. The guy was not playing lead guitar. He was straight up playing rhythm. And I'm
Hmm.
like, and the crowd didn't care. Like, they loved it. They were having a lot of fun. And I was
Most
like,
of it, but anyway, we can talk about this later. But most of the time, the crowd doesn't even know. I mean, this is kind
mm-hmm,
of we're talking. We are two musicians, so we look also what the people are
mm-hmm,
really playing. And the only one who cannot really fake it is the drummer, and the rest kind of anyway, just sorry, go ahead. But I know exactly what you mean. But most people don't care, as long as the music is working out. Why should we? And it's not that you're faking it. You're still
yep,
playing something, and you're still giving them a show. And sometimes even the show is more important for a live event than than we would kind of forgive you some missteps, or if you hit a wrong note or something. I mean, if you don't do it continuously, but.
mm-hmm.
Anyway, go ahead. So you just were in the.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to hold off on anybody anymore. And I did a bunch
Hmm.
of research online, um, and I figured out how to set up my tracks, how to send the signal, and do all this stuff on my own. I ended up getting a Kemper profiler. So for those of you who don't know, Kemper is like it originates from Germany. It's a German company, but they specialize in profiling different types of guitar sounds. Like you can either have like set types of things and you can set it up, or you can actually hook up a microphone to a live guitar rig, and it'll actually sample the frequencies and is able to replicate it. So, and it is in basically a box, and
It's a
you
very
can have a
small package
controller
as
or
well, right?
whatever, and you exactly, you don't need a speaker. Um, the reason I was able to come out to this show is because I was able to fit my entire like music equipment into two checked bags. Like I could fit my Kemper and my pedal and all the and my my stage setup into a single thing, and then I had a guitar. And I was able to take that on the plane with me. So, 2 years ago I wouldn't have been able to do that. Um, but yeah, so and then I just like I started booking shows and started playing it on my own. So
So you really played because
um,
I saw pictures of you, where you kind of on your Instagram made like, oh yeah, I just played this show and stuff, and then I saw only you, and I was thinking, are you really all alone on your stage and just you playing it to the backing tracks? I mean, this takes a lot of
that's
guts,
true.
man. This
Yes.
is really, I mean, I have been a singer in a couple of bands, and even I know it's sometimes nice to blend in and kind of be a little bit in the backside and let somebody else in the forefront. I mean, people can only focus on you, only see
Mhm.
you, and okay, so yeah, you got a lot of guts basically to do that.
Yeah, it's definitely like the closest. It definitely you're exposed.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, there's no one
and
else to
if you
look
mess
at.
up,
Yeah.
exactly. And every time I go to play a show, and the venue, like they have no idea. Like they're just like they just keep seeing the name, and they see that they just think it's a band, and they keep referring to us in the plural, like you guys. Can't wait to see you guys and all this stuff, and you know,
Hmm.
um, and I just kind of grin a little bit, like yeah, I can't wait for you to
Hmm.
see us too. I'll to sensible people, and then they just see me get up there, and they're like, you always see this confused look on their faces, like where's the rest of the band? And then I start performing, and um, I mean, it's I still get a lot of like raised eyebrows, like what's going on here? But there's definitely been a few shows where because of that, like I just have a ridiculous amount of freedom to and you know then I just keep raising the bar for it. I've been fortunate to play some pretty interesting shows. There was a couple of shows we played in some underground, like members only goth clubs. I got to open up for this band um, called Bro, which is phenomenal. Like I love those guys and girls. Um, but the promoter that booked the show brought um, gothic dancers. So it's
Okay.
like these
Yeah,
young ladies that are
this would fit your
dressed
show.
very.
It would be really cool. Yeah, I can imagine.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. Like contacts and weird
Hmm.
costumes and stuff
Hmm.
like that.
And
And I
hair, most
remember
of
I
them.
was opening
Mm.
and I started playing, and all the dancers are just kind of standing there staring at me like, what's going on? and and one of them like I knew they were supposed to be dancing, so I'm in the middle of the song and I just walk up to one of them, and they had like a choker on and a chain, and I grabbed the choker and drug her up to the stage and was like, and then they were like, oh yeah, we got to do our job, we got to start dancing, and I would interact with them and all that stuff. And but the key, like I'm very interactive at my shows. I always involve the crowd. I'm always like, I don't just stand there and play guitar and whatever. Like I'm interacting with people. I try to talk and engage with them. Um, and I'll be in the middle of a song and I'll like point at them or get them to move around and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
it's a lot of fun. It's interesting and it's different.
Hmm.
Um,
So
but
it seems like you mostly had positive reactions to this because, you know, we are both a little bit older, and I guess you have heard. I remember there was a time when people would scoff at people or at bands who have like an electronic drum kit. Not a real drum kit, and this is not the real sound, and this is kind of, and you're kind of doing it even more extreme. You're having now backing tracks where you perform to, basically, and so it seems like people will accept it, seemingly. And I have
yeah,
actually two questions. Like, how do you, because with backing tracks, I see a big problem that the cool thing is you kind of be always on time and everyone is there and you have the band in your pocket, basically. But on the other hand, having not a live band means you're kind of the song is always 4 minutes and 70 seconds. There is no like an encore, or there is no, you cannot just look around and your drummer and say, okay, we do another turnaround or whatever. It's kind of, how do you deal
yeah,
with that? Because you're kind of stuck in the time frame you gave yourself. How do you do
yeah,
do that?
yeah. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Um, so for me, it's a blessing and a curse
Hmm.
because when promoters are like, all right, how long is my set
You can say
time? Like, oh,
35
you
minutes
got
and
30
17
minutes.
seconds. Okay, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Exactly. I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, all right, cool.
Hmm.
And so I'll then go and I'll do my whatever. Um, but yeah, unfortunately, I'm stuck to that set list. So that's the double-edged sword. But what I try to do, and I learned this the hard way. My very first show ever, like I was the last person playing, and I had like a full hour. So I put every single song that I could that I can remember to play on there, no breaks. Like it was bam, bam, bam,
Hmm.
and I was about to die. So I quickly learned, and I went back to uh, my recording stuff, and I started creating these little like breaks and interludes
Hmm.
that would be like an extended intro to an upcoming song. So I've got like I want to say 3 or 4 songs that I use for transitions. And that kind of aids in it, like giving me a little bit of break, gives me some time to interact with people. And if I need to, pause it or whatever I can. So luckily, like I run everything off of an iPad. It's usually pretty close to me, and it like, take a break. I can go and pause it,
Hmm.
at a small break, but for the most part, I'm pretty much stuck to that set time, and I just, go beginning to end and rock it out. But I try to do what I can to still figure out ways to make it interactive and cool, like what you're saying, like instead of saying, oh, we're going to do this bridge an extra couple of times or stuff like that, like I just try to come up with that idea ahead of time, and go from there. Luckily, I so far I haven't had any issues with that,
Hmm.
but I'm sure at some point it could become a possibility. But I'm hoping by that time, my setup will be a little bit more advanced. I'm
Hmm.
looking to, expand and upgrade from an iPad to an actual laptop and get a proper DAW and interface and stuff like
Hmm.
that. But to where I can be a little bit more, controlling in real time. But yeah, I just right now I'm kind of stuck to the set. I'm kind
I
of
see.
tethered to
I
it.
see. So, because I was kind of tasked with, or no, I had the same issue basically. Like you, I didn't found people to play with me, so I also did a solo thing, and I went a little bit different direction. Um, but yeah, my kind of thing was always I wanted to have a free floating song where I could kind of do something fresh, so that it doesn't. Well, the question I want to formulate, you kind of answered already a little bit, is if I see your show once, and you don't switch your set list around, I will see the same show again, basically. Or how do you keep it fresh for people who might see you multiple times? If you're in best case scenario is that you have fans following you around and see you every night. Let's put it this way, if you're on tour or something, and how can you keep it interesting for them?
So luckily, I've had quite a few years to create an extensive catalog of songs. And usually I don't do the same show twice. So far I haven't. Okay. I'll usually, it kind of, I guess, as they say, like getting an understanding of what's in the sauce. I have all of my songs and interludes and stuff. I have a spreadsheet that I have every single one of them, as well as the time duration. And it literally, it's like, oh, I've got X amount of minutes. All right, well, I'm going to put this intro in. I'm going to do this, and I'll just kind of drag.
So you tailor-made every show directly then, to the time you get, basically.
Yep. I would say if I was to go into a tour setting, I would probably come up with, I would figure being on tour that I would get a very specific amount of time every day that I'm playing. I would likely come up with probably 3 to 5 different variations. And I have an intro and an outro when I play. So I almost always have like type of, 2-minute long thing where I'm not even on stage. It's just some ambient stuff going on, and then it may have like some vocal sample to start it off, and then I'll kick into one of my songs. So it's just like Episode of Fear or Right of Center, where it's just one of those that it starts off with everything all at once, or it's just one of those really heavy songs to really start a set, and then everything else is free flowing. So
okay. So it seems to work well for you. So are you still looking to kind of get band members, or or do you just know? We talked about like doing a collaboration that I sing one of your songs, for example, and I've noticed you have also a collaboration with Fleischkrieg. I don't know if it's still active, because it seems a little bit not active at the moment. So what is your goal? You seem to be doing quite well, and that's good. It works for you, but I can only talk for myself. I still would love to have a real band, and to get real people to play my stuff, or the stuff I love to do. So are you still pursuing this, or is this kind of checked off and you're done?
Yeah, no, I'm still pursuing it. And I've got, I guess, a few topics I can go on about the collaborations. We'll hit that here in a moment. But yeah, I still want to have a full band, or at least, a couple. Like, I definitely want a live drummer. Like, first, like, that's the biggest feedback I've gotten from just about everybody. They're like, you need a live drummer.
Yeah.
It sounds good with what you're doing, but if you have the drummer, it just adds so much more. It's good feedback. I may be a bass player. As for vocals, I think long term, so Ceraphym has turned into an instrumental kind of project, where it's a one-man thing. But I guess if we kind of take it back to, like, I guess, the progression and the collaboration, which you're a part of. I'm basically doing 2 different, I'm doing a rather large, involved release of my music. So far, uh, actually, let me take it a step a little bit back. I was, for a good couple of years, I was trying to figure out how to release my music. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do an album, or do I want to do an EP? Do I want to do a single? Like, I just, and I was sitting in a training class for, like, I was in with some like software development engineers and stuff like that, and they're talking about this methodology for like how they plan work, and they use this methodology called Scrum,
Mm-hmm.
and
I
they
know it.
use so they use the Fibonacci sequence, and for those that aren't as familiar with the Fibonacci, it basically it's a numerical sequence where you start with 1, and then you always add the number before it, and that becomes the next one. So 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21. So it keeps adding, and I was like, wow, what if I was to release music sequence? So I released a single, Right of Center. I want to say December. 1 month later, in January, I released 2 songs, which I just called Dissension V 1.2. And then 2 months after that, I released Dissension V 1.3, which had 3 songs. 3 months after that, I just released Dissension V 1.5 that has 5 songs. In October, I'm going to be doing Dissension V 1.8, which, you guessed it, will have 8 songs.
Mm-hmm.
And then 8 months after that, which will be, I want to say, like May of 2021, I'm wanting to release a 13 song full length LP, but I take songs that were previously released in the other versions and have vocal collaborations, which is what you're a part of. So I basically go and I talk with various people and from different locations, and get them, kind of signed up to, like, hey, do you want to do guest vocals on this thing? I kind of tell them the concept. And yeah, so that's actually the part that you're a part of, Fleischkrieg, which you're familiar with. He is going to do one of the songs.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a couple of people from all over the country that's doing it. I've got people, I've got you in Germany. I'm about to hit up somebody who I actually just met her for the first time this weekend, but she's originally from Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal female vocalist.
This would be interesting to have
I'm
female vocals on it. That would be really nice.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have at least 2 or 3 female vocalists set up for collaboration. I've got somebody from Nashville. Actually, she's my niece. She's going to be doing vocals on my song "Dumbfounded,"
Mm-hmm.
and all the songs when they do the collaboration. That we also change the title of it. So the song that you're working on is called "Ring Road." At some point, whenever you finish your vocals and the
Yeah,
ideas,
I
we'll
have to
change the
get
name of the
into
song.
this again. Yeah, exactly. And I'm wanted to, okay, now I'm doing an interview or something, but I really need to, because I thought, like, what if I do some German lyrics here and do it, like Rammstein-esque, like give you some rolling R's. I think you would like it, but I have to kind of think about it, how to fit it in best, that you get the most out of it. And that you like it, of
Ja,
course.
sehr gut.
Sehr gut, sehr gut. Right on. Thomas
I
Crawford.
I would love that. I would love
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, so that's
I
what I thought, and that's why I'm still hesitant, because I first have to kind of pen the lyrics and then
Yeah.
kind of put it in the song, because my problem with it is, and I don't know if somebody else told you this already, the song
Uh-uh.
is kind of quite perfect as it is. There is not much space to really put something in, I mean, this is a song which can stand on its own, like you
Yeah.
intended it to, and so it's tougher to put in, to cram in the lyrical part. It's possible, of course, but it's not
Yeah.
that easy for me, I have to admit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have heard that. So the other song, so Ring Road, the song you're doing came off of Dissension V1.2. There was another song with it called Take What You Give, and a friend of mine from Kentucky, the original version of that I sent to him a couple of years ago, and he agreed to do guest vocals on it. And he ended up changing the name of it to Dirty Vessels. But he come back and he's like, I have to restructure this a little bit. I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, what are you thinking? And he was, he kind of just like shared where he had to he basically just cut and paste a few parts to make it fit better. And I'm totally down for that. Like, when someone's doing the vocals, and I understand that I'm not a vocalist and I don't write to vocalists,
Hmm.
I just write and put it together. Um, and it doesn't quite fit, then tell me what you need switched around, replaced, taken out, and we'll make it
Okay,
happen. So
it's good that you're talking about it now, because
yeah,
this kind of what was holding me back a little bit, because it's tough to I mean, you made the song that it stands on its own, and this is how you kind of perceived it and how you wanted it to be, and this is perfect as it is. But
yeah,
it's usually I have another collaboration I do with a guy from Norway, and
mhm,
he also writes music for me, but he kind of gives me blank spaces, where very little is going on, where I can sing into. So basically, he kind of also prepares the whole song and gives me the spaces where I can fit in the lyrics. So
yeah,
and here's everything is kind of filled, so it doesn't really need lyrics like you intended it
yeah.
to. But anyway, sorry. Let's talk about some other thing. So, Fleisch Creek. This is another project you have. So it more like a side hustle, so to say, to take your what you said before.
Yeah. Yeah, so Fleischkrieg is kind of an interesting thing. And honestly, like I'll tell my side of the story,
Hmm.
because I think it would be
So I have
really
to
interesting
talk
for
with
you to retell.
other person as well. So I get only
Yeah,
half of a
you
picture
should.
here. I get it.
Yeah, you should totally talk to Richard. But it's kind of interesting how that come about. So I didn't start Fleischkrieg at all.
Hmm.
Um, about a year and a half ago, some friends of mine were it was the 4th of July, which is a pretty big deal in the U.S. And we were going into the city. I was living in Seattle at the time, and we didn't like. Basically, we were wanting to go to a bunch of different places, but we didn't want to like. We wanted to park somewhere and then just like take
Hmm.
Uber rides and taxis and stuff like that. Um, and so we were doing that, and we were getting an Uber ride back to my car, and the guy that picked us up, like he's this tall. I want to say he's like 6'5", and he's super friendly and very talkative.
Hmm.
Um, and he was totally like, "Oh, you're not from around here, are you? Like, you kind of got some accents. You don't sound like you're from Seattle." And like, no, we're from the Midwest and the South. And he's like, "Oh, I'm from the South too." And we started like just kind of chatting, and and the subject of music come up, and I was like, I'm really into industrial metal, and he's like, "No kidding, I'm into industrial metal." And I'm like, "Yeah, one of my favorite bands is Rammstein. I saw them live, and it was the best show ever." He goes, "My favorite band's Rammstein." So it got a little creepy at that point.
Hmm.
And then I was like, "Yeah, I write and record my own solo industrial music, but it's instrumental." And he goes, "I write and record my own industrial metal music." So he hit me
Come to
up.
my house. I'm gonna show you something.
Yeah, that would be.
Okay.
Well, I would actually, it was the other way around, but he, yeah, so he shared a link to a couple songs that wasn't too bad, and I was like, like, oh, maybe someone even made a comment like, oh, maybe you found your vocalist. Well, on top of that, he has his own video production company, so
Hmm. Oh,
Like he
that can
writes
come
and
in handy
directs
as well.
movies. Oh, exactly. So my music videos, that's Richard.
Hmm.
He and I, we met, and I was like, I was telling him like, I'm looking for some music videos, and he's like, well, I'm looking for some guitar work. He's like, I'm really good at writing. He's like, I can write guitar, but I'm not like a guitarist. And I write the music on computer and all this stuff, and I'll do the vocals. Um, and he's like, how do you feel about like contributing guitar? And so we just kind of did this agreement, like where I would help support him with Fleischkrieg. He would support Seraphym with videos. Um, and it kind of worked out. So but the thing is, he had never performed live.
Hmm.
um, and he was sharing these song ideas, um, and I recorded guitars for the song Bloody Prophets, which was the first music video he did. Um, and we used his video as kind of like a test. Um, and then ended up doing the same thing on my side of things. I kind of scouted out some locations, and we just kind of worked on Seraphim music videos. But I got the new job opportunity where I was going to be moving to Los Angeles, and I got asked to play a show in Seattle, and one of the bands dropped off.
Hmm.
And they were like, we're looking for another band. We're looking for another band. And I totally hit up Richard, like, hey dude, how did you feel about performing Fleischkrieg? And he's like, what? I was like, yeah, why don't you perform Fleischkrieg? And he's like, I'm only going to do it if you're performing with me. I was like, of course, no problem. So I essentially kicked him out of the nest. Like,
Hmm.
I brought him to my house. He had about 6 songs in some like the same thing, like musical interludes, and we just kind of worked out the finishing touches on guitar tracks, and we performed live, and he's been hooked ever since. So that's how I got hooked up with Fleischkrieg. He's actually he's a really good friend of mine. He actually just moved down to Los Angeles as well. He's the house that I have. We have like another unit on the property, and he's living in that unit, and he's working on building his video production company and his resume in Los Angeles. And he's also like he basically has a backlog of clients that he's dealing with still from Seattle and Portland, finishing up a lot of those, but he's also trying to build up his business down in LA. And at the same time, he's Fleischkrieg music. So you should get him on and ask him about it. But the reason you haven't heard much else is from that side of it is, basically, I'm finishing up like guitar parts. He's going to finish up his lyrics, and he needs to record. Actually going to, I'm going to take his music and mix and master it to do like a formal release
Hmm.
here in the future. But he's that's kind of what's going on there, and how I got hooked up with him. Interesting cat. Like, I'm sure you get him on, you're going to hear all sorts
Yeah,
of fun stories.
I should talk with him because I mean that's the beauty for me. I can talk with. I mean, this is really kind of what COVID-19 did for me because I used to interview bands from my local area. I did a show for a local radio station here. And I discovered quickly, okay, there's like 3 or 4 bands I really are interested in, and the rest is kind of, well, they make music, let's put it this way. And so I was like, oh, okay. Then I kind of stopped it basically because there was nothing else. I mean, I did a few more interviews, but I realized if I'm not really interested in it, then you're not really invested in talking with the people. If you don't really if you don't really share the same passion. And so
Yeah.
now with COVID-19, I realized, man, I have now my own little studio, which you don't see yet, but you will see in the video later on. And yeah, and I know so many different people now worldwide, and why not talk with them, and talk about the things I really are interested in, and like you, what you're doing with your iPad and with your backing tracks and stuff. So yeah. So what is okay? You already talked a little bit about it. What you're doing in the future of this. What was the name of the principle you're using? The double principle. Uh, when you do
Oh,
the album thing
the
next week, next year May, when the album will drop.
yeah, the sequence.
Okay, you just were breaking up a little bit here.
Uh,
Wait, we have not the best connection, unfortunately.
is this any better?
Yeah, it says your network broadband is very low. So I'm not the problem. You're the problem.
Mm.
I don't know if you can if you can fix that,
uh,
because I don't know how you can expand your broadband. Um, I mean, worst case scenario is you have to turn
yeah.
off your camera or something, but then it will be a really boring video. That's fine, because I also will do a podcast out of this. But yeah, for the viewers, it's actually nicer to see
Hmm.
some people. Okay, but now it seems a little bit more
Is this any
stable.
better? Oh, sorry, I'm going on Okay, yeah, I started disconnecting other devices, so hopefully
Hmm.
that helps.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. No.
but
What?
yeah,
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you were asking about the release. It's the under the Fib sequence. Sorry.
Hmm. Yeah. And you already said what you're gonna do in the future, because yeah, this is what I wanted to hear from you, where you want to go with your
Hmm.
project. I mean, you're in the lucky position that you get an income, a steady income, so you can kind of do your side hustle and don't rely on it.
Yeah.
I recently talked with a musician who has, like, he told me, yeah, I have money for 1 month left, and then I have to see what I can do. So
Wow.
you're in a good position, and yeah, I guess even with COVID-19, you're safe with what you're doing. Um, so I guess your
Yeah.
dream, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, I think like the future of it. So I'm still working on um, the upcoming releases. I've got the one in October that I'm working on, the 1.8. Working to um, nail down a producer for that one, and then for the 2.0, kind of I do want to get a full band, but I also want to be versatile. If I can get it, cool. If not, I'll be able to go on. But honestly, like the way that I plan to go from there is, there's a couple of bands that I've been in talks with that are like, once things kind of chill out, maybe going on some tours. And I'm in the meantime trying to build up some fan bases in these different
Hmm.
regions. I'm going to start looking into doing some live streaming options.
Hmm.
Saw a couple of live stream things in a few companies like stageit.com and a couple others where they can do like geofencing and things like that, where you can actually make it a real tour like experience where you can only make it available to people in a certain region. Um, doing some things like that. I know in talking with Richard, he and I definitely want to do a kind of like a co-headlining type of tour, doing both Seraphym and Fleisch Creek. Definitely want to go to Europe.
Hmm.
The Europe is that's the dream right there. Like, that's kind of the motherland for most of the music that we're really into. So like for me, a lot of my background has been into, I mean, not only like, just standard industrial metal, but I actually don't listen to a lot of industrial metal. I
Hmm.
just a couple of, like Rammstein, obviously. I've gotten into a band recently from Germany called Devil M that I really like.
Devil M. Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. I know the guy. I almost could have played with them, but then COVID-19 hit.
oh
That's
yeah,
funny. It's also funny,
I sometimes
just as a little side note, that you say
Mhm.
Rammstein is industrial, because here in Germany it's not called that. It's called Neue Deutsche Härte, New German Hardness or Harshness. You would translate it. So that's
Huh.
actually, but I think it's more industrial. It's not really rock music because yeah, there's more to it. Anyway,
Yeah.
just side note for your information.
That's, yeah, you'll have to kick that over. Like I had a feeling that like I've heard some like true industrial music. Like I know
Ministry is kind of considered
like one of
true.
my favorite bands
Yeah,
is yeah D Cluta. Uh, are
Die Klute. Yeah, I
they're
know, I know.
industrial, right?
Hmm.
Like and
Hmm.
yeah. You know, so some bands like that, but like the stuff that I listen to on a regular basis is more of the uh, kind of like the Scandinavian melodic death metal, like In Flames, Soilwork, um, but also like even like I'm really into some deathcore bands like Whitechapel and All Shall Perish. And so like the stuff that I like to listen to is a lot heavier, um, but you know, however, like you know, we really dig you know, European music, you know, love listening to the bands from Europe. And we're always hearing the stories about how awesome it is to Europe. So we're going to try to figure out some way of like flying as minimal and much stuff as we can over to one place in Europe and just do a European tour. So,
Hmm. Yeah,
um,
once this
and then I guess
COVID-19
after
is
that,
over.
like the idea is that I would do this all over again. Yeah. So that's kind of that's what I have planned at the moment, but nothing solidified.
Hmm.
Um, and then I think like I have like an initial concept of so like I call the these different groupings under the Fibonacci sequence, I call them eras. So right now, Ascension era, you know, and I've got a couple of ideas for the following eras where I'll basically, after 13 months of the full album release, I'll basically start it all over, and you know, do it again, and then thinking of like different logo personas,
Hmm.
you know, from there. But I actually have enough music that I could basically do like two full length albums, but you know, just kind of playing around like I don't know. That's kind of where I'm thinking about right now. But
Hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, I was, you know, the days, or wait, the times have changed, you know. So today is actually, from as far as I can tell,
mm-hmm,
it's better in the age of Spotify to release things more often, like once or twice a month or something, a single, than just doing an album every year or every second year or something. So just to kind of
mm-hmm,
keep the listeners engaged, to kind of always send them something new, because it will show up in their discovery stream, or in, you know, new release stream and stuff. So but it seems like you're not pandering to this thing. You're just doing you know, what you think you want to do, but in a way you also work with it.
mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So, but this is kind of,
Yep,
in one way I hate it. In another way, it's the way it is. You know, you cannot kind of complain about it. I mean, you can, but it doesn't change it. So, yeah.
yep. You have to adapt to it.
Hmm.
You know, you know, and you can't be rigid. You can't be like, oh, you know, you can't be elitist and antiquated, or you'll fall off. Like you
Hmm.
have to adapt. Yeah, and like you said, like, am I a fan of the streaming aspect of things? Not really. I prefer people actually paid money
Hmm.
for my stuff instead of it going into the pockets of these other companies. But on the other side, it is providing an opportunity to those that didn't have it before. Like everything, the record labels were the gatekeepers, and
It's
you
true.
always had to like fight to go and get the attention of these select few people that you just had to get to their taste of things. And now it's made it more open for people to be very do it yourself and independent. But also on the other side, that also means a lot of really crappy music is
Exactly.
available
Tell
on the
me, this is,
radio,
I
and
just
so
wanted
it
to
kind of
say, this is a
dilutes.
blessing and a curse because, I also do a radio show where I
Yeah.
present new music, and I get lots of crap because everyone can put something together on its iPhone and say, oh, I'm the new here and this and that. And but it's just, it hurts my ears. So I used to block very rigidly. If you kind of hit me with something really stupid, and I don't think it's funny. It's not worth my time. Anyway, the point is, yes, there is a flood, there is a sea, there is a monsoon. Monsoon? Can you say monsoon in English? A floodgate
Uh-huh.
of bad music, and it's really tough to stick your head up and be above it. But on the other hand, you can do it today. You don't need, like you said, you don't need a label. You can do it on your own. And if you have this Richard from Fleisch Creek, and you make a cool video and it's a sleeper hit and somebody sees it, so you can do that. I mean, Justin Bieber apparently just got big through one of his that's maybe not the for us, but and the other thing I really like is that you can kind of connect worldwide, because we are kind of more like niche musicians. It's not like industrial metal or
Yep.
the music we like is mainstream, and I like it this way. I like what I like. It's there's no. In German, we say you cannot argue about taste. If somebody doesn't like it, then that's the way it is. But I love what I do and what you're doing, and we can kind of through the day and age we are in right now can get a following which we would have not have before. You would kind of be in your little town, and you be maybe the weirdo, and he likes this crazy kind of stuff, and nobody likes it. And now okay, in Mexico I have 100 fans, and there I have 2,000 or something, but it's worldwide, and they're all spread apart. But they are there, and you kind of get the support from the scene. You would have never been able to get before. So that's the blessing and the curse once again. So maybe
Yep.
that's
Yep.
maybe a nice
Absolutely.
segue to what's your kind of how do you promote yourself? What's your kind of because I'm really bad on Instagram, and you're kind of active on Instagram. I'm more a Twitter guy because Twitter I understood finally, kind of with the hashtags and stuff.
Oh.
I got it now, but with Instagram. I gave it to. I have now a guy who's 20 and who plays the guitar in my band, and he understood it, and he can kind of make a story and stuff. And I don't really get what it is. Anyway, my question to you is, what is your strategy to kind of stick out of a crowd of a many of a flood of music and self promoters, and how do you do it? What works
Yeah.
for you?
Um, I'll be honest. I'm still. It's one of the areas that I wish I was a lot better at. You're saying that I'm pretty active on Instagram. I don't feel that I am.
Okay.
I'm active on my personal one probably more than the band one. And I personally am still trying to figure it out. But I would say what I try to do is come up with posts that are more engaging and interactive. Like I don't want to like, oh, this is what I'm eating today.
Okay. Yeah. No.
Hey, I'm hanging out at the pool. Cool. But making it more engaging where you're asking questions like, hey, what's your, what are you listening to on this Sunday? Like or something that's going to drive some thought into it. I try not to be too controversial,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely have my political views, but I try to keep that out of,
Mm-hmm.
um, or I'll say I won't make it as apparent
Mm-hmm.
in my music. Like I'm not a political band, but I may sneak in like a kind of a thought here or there. But just basically try to get it engaged and get people discussing and whatnot. I'm probably more involved in Facebook than I am that. I have not even logged into Twitter. I know what Twitter is. I know people have it. It's one of those I should probably get into it, but it's just been that last thing that I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, I really don't want to, but I think I'm going to have to.
Yeah, for me, it's
But yeah,
honestly, it's just Twitter. I kind of understood because if I mention somebody, he will get a notice, and if I a hashtag is kind of what's trending, and Instagram I never really got. I kind of like, whoa, what is this? And when there's a story, and whoa. Anyway, yeah, it's kind of. I'm kind of complaining, but it's the way it is. You have to do it to a certain
yeah,
degree, and on the other hand, we can be happy that we are able to do it. It's you can kind of self promote yourself, and if it works
hmm
out, people will find you, and maybe that's another question for you because what would you kind of say was your biggest success, or how do you measure success? What is kind of gratifying for you when I mean, I guess when you're coming off a show and off a stage and people talk with you, but what's kind of your biggest successes you have so far with your solo project? Still, I mean, still solo.
uh,
That's what I mean.
yeah, yeah. I would say some of my biggest successes is I've been networking with a lot of people I didn't think I would be able to. Like, you know, um, when you're an aspiring musician and you see, especially if you're nowhere near the main hubs like
Hmm.
Los Angeles or New York or something like that, hell, even in Seattle, like it seemed like so a lot of the people that I'm going to say idolize, but you definitely look up to. They seem so far away. They seem so far above you.
Hmm.
But in the last year and a half, I've done a lot. I've got to make some connections and network with some people that are big influences on me. One in particular, I'm a huge fan of Doc Coyle, who's known from the band God Forbid, but he's also in a really successful band right now called Bad Wolves.
Hmm.
And he has his own podcast called the X-Man Podcast, where he talks about where it basically started with this whole concept of he's no longer in this band, and this is him starting his life over. And he talks with other people who are no longer in bands, and they're starting, how are they, what's life after the band? And
Okay.
actually, you got to witness this progression of him not being in a band to being in a very successful band that's blowing up right now. And I actually got to meet him and go on his podcast. So that was really cool. Actually, I'm wearing a Doc Coyle shirt.
Hmm. Cool.
He's selling like these personalized T-shirts. But also on top of that, I got to meet DK Zero when I was in Seattle. I got to open up for him and have networked with a couple of people from there. Actually, D-Punk from DK Zero, like I contracted him to do a bunch of stage clothes for me. I got a bunch of old shirts and pants and kilts, and he distressed them and kind of made them look more creepy and industrial. And so, um, and then also the guy that mixed my last my previous release, the Dissension V1.5, was done by Christoph Bathory from the industrial band Dawn of Ashes. Um, interesting dude. He did an amazing job on my album, and I chat with him every now and then. So I would say like those are kind of the successes where I'm able to kind of reach and get some advice and some things from people that I kind of idolized or in some fashion looked up to. So and I would say that's kind of the other successes. And then I mean also like you said, playing shows and probably one of the coolest shows I got to play aside from DK0 was there's a band from New Zealand called Alien Weaponry, and I got asked to open up for them. And it was really cool to like again introduce people to this whole new concept of a single dude playing guitar, having full music, and people actually liking it. So I think those are the successes, is meeting these people that you really look up to and shocking the crap out of people, and they're expecting this huge thing, and then they see one dude go up and they're like, okay, what's this one dude gonna do? And then this one dude shows him what he does. So yeah. So I would say that's it.
Do you have any stage props or something? Like a banners or like a video show in the back or something like this?
So I do have, depending upon like the size and the type of show, I have different backdrops and stage scrims. So like if it's a larger venue, I've got some rather large scrims that have one of my older designs. And then for the smaller venues, there'll probably be some pictures out and some video footage here in the next week or two from the Slash show, but my smaller ones that are kind of like my purple and green design. But another thing I got to do, which is also helpful when you are a band that has backing tracks and has a specific set list and time. I worked with Richard on this last show. They actually had a projector, and like they were asking for logos and animations, and I'm like, can you do broadcast video? And they said absolutely. So I worked with Richard, and we put together. I designed it by going, okay, here's my set list. Here's some ideas I have on some stuff. I went and looked for some stock video and some ideas, and I said, and he took that and he built an entire video show that starts from beginning to end. It was amazing. The timing was a little off just because I was playing a show in the middle of nowhere, and it wasn't like I couldn't see it and couldn't figure out the cues, so the sync was a little bit off. But so I had this live show. Like I've got one song called Homunculus that's actually inspired by Hellraiser, the Hellraiser movies. Okay. And it's actually got some samples from Hellraiser 2 and Hellraiser 3. So I showed scenes of that while I was playing in the song, but with my logo overlaid it and stuff like that. What I'm wanting to do in the future, like, when Richard and I start actually planning like a tour and whatnot, is we're planning to get like our own stage lighting, maybe some LED screens, stuff like that, but definitely some lighting and working. Like I said, I'm wanting to upgrade my setup to where I've got like a laptop and a proper DAW and things like that. And there's these programs where you can actually sync lighting shows with your set. So it's not like it's not just doing it by sound, but you can actually program like, okay, during this part of the song, you do these moving lights and these shows and stuff like that. So those are some of the things that we're planning for. Already got like some visuals in my head and just plotting out all the different stuff we need and how to make it as painless as possible, with a minimum amount of risk of something breaking or not working.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was just thinking, like, Rammstein did start pretty small as well, and now, we're the pyrotechnics experts. But this is kind of, yeah, not the route I want to go for now, or you want to
Yeah.
go, I guess, with a flamethrower, and you have some attention, but it's really dangerous.
Oh yeah. I have no desire for the flames yet.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
maybe the steam fog that's like pressurized and colorized, but I don't think I want the flames yet.
Hmm.
Wait
Hmm.
until I can afford that, where I can afford professionals to design it and tell me where not to stand.
Yep, yep. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Yeah, because I only remembered that you had some pictures there, and on one picture I saw you in some. I would call it a little bit more risky stretch pants. It was weird when you went on with stretchy pants in my eyes, but well, maybe you were kind of the metal spandex era. You wanted to show something. I don't know.
Oh,
Um,
I'm kind of curious what this is. I don't
well,
remember.
let me see. Let me see. I have your Instagram open if I can find what it was. Oh, missed. Okay, I'm not logged in into Instagram. Okay, I have to find it myself. I kind of showed your Instagram on the site so that people can kind of get to you. But now it wants me to log in. I don't want to log in right now.
Uh, oh, no worries. The now what I do wear, and it may look like is I have a kilt.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Your kilt is cool.
so
But
yeah, I've
this
got
was
a
something
kilt
else.
that's
Was
been
kind
like,
of like a stretch
yeah, I've
pant.
got that.
Hmm. Yeah. Anyway, I
Yeah,
will I
because
will find out.
otherwise it's just been
Let's not dwell onto this. Um.
okay.
So yeah. Okay. I'm I'm actually through with. I mean, I had a question, but you you seem to move quite a lot because one of my question was you went to Seattle, and I wanted to
Uh-huh.
if there was still some grunge going on. I mean. I'm a
Oh
little bit
yeah.
older, and you are a little bit. So there were some crunch days, but you already moved away from Seattle again. So I guess it's over now. And L.A., L.A. is a different beast. I would think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, um I personally didn't get to see any grunge type bands, but I mean still like Seattle always like they linger on that, and that's their claim to fame.
Hmm.
Um I one of the first shows I played was it was called at the Old Central Saloon, which apparently is one of Seattle's oldest venues,
Hmm.
and the wall is just covered with old posters from the 90s from like Nirvana and Soundgarden and Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam and all of that stuff. And they definitely still are huge fans of that stuff, but I personally didn't see a whole lot of grunge music there. It was most of the time the venues and the shows I was going to. It was definitely more rock and metal. I ended up actually there's a outside of Seattle, so there's a couple of towns or cities. So like one of the next town south of Seattle is called Tacoma,
Hmm.
and Tacoma actually has a pretty decent punk and industrial scene there. And actually, some of the people I actually met from DK Zero, half of DK Zero is in Washington, and the other half is in California. But yeah, there's a few Seattle this one band I just um, heard of. I've got a couple of their songs on my playlist. Like one's called X Spirit, which is kind of interesting. It's kind of like an industrial ambiance with a vocalist. And then another one, Rabbit Junk.
Oh, Rabbit Junk. I really like Rabbit
Um,
Junk. They're cool.
yeah, I do too. I do too. I didn't get to see them live, but yeah, apparently they're from Seattle.
Hmm.
Um, and then there's a band I've been hooking up with. they're a horror thrash band called Cryptonesia. And yeah, they're really, really cool guys. Kind of similar. Actually, he reminds me a little bit of you, where he's got like a radio show. He's doing like podcasts and video shows, and and he's got the bands, and he's doing music videos, and he's just kind of a jack of all trades. He's just doing all of it. But yeah, it was the scene was pretty good for rock and rock industrial. And now most of the shows I got into playing, though, they were like I didn't fit with very many of the bands initially. Like they were booking me with like these jazz fusion rock bands, or these people that wanted to be like post grunge a little bit, like they'll wear wear the fur coats and the bandanas and act like Scott Weiland, and I don't know, but then later on I started finding my niche with some of these other bands. But yeah, the scene's a little bit different. I moved to LA literally at the start of COVID, so I haven't got to really witness the scene yet. But I'm looking forward to it. I can't, like, some of the dream venues that as you listen to Motley Crue songs and you hear about all the stories, like the Whiskey, the Rainbow Room, Roxy, Viper Room, like those are all in West Hollywood and down from where I work. And I just can't wait for things to open back up and be able to start playing shows locally. See what LA is all about.
And how are, maybe let's, so what, I just heard that you have 5 million cases now in the United States. So it seems like it's still getting worse, because for us in Germany, we kind of have a second wave now basically coming on. So we are at 1,000 cases, 900 or 1,000 cases per day. So anyway, do you have any, is there any information how long the lockdown will last, or but if there's a ways you can see that it's kind of opening up again or something?
So it's been kind of weird. There's definitely polarizing views on like what's going on and seeing. I would say the biggest ones are obviously the larger populated cities. So LA, Seattle, and New York were the three main hotspots. But now they're starting to have other places, and while those cities still have cases and they're still climbing, you're getting other places like in Florida and Texas where it's starting to go. And a lot of it is people just they don't want to do what they need to do. Just stay at your home, try to minimize human contact, stay social distance, all that. There's a lot of people there's a lot of conspiracy theories that it's all fake. And I don't know, it's a little weird. I would say though, in the LA region, like everything was on pretty hardcore lockdown. Like you could drive to places, but the traffic there would be nothing. Like you could get from point A to point B very quickly, while normally you couldn't. Normally, if you wanted to drive 10 miles, it would take you an hour. And now it takes you 15 minutes, but it's slowly starting to build back up. They're slowly starting to open things, and they're kind of like it's fluctuating. I think right now we're in the middle of our second wave. As for when we think things will I don't think we're ever going to go back to normal. But I think there's going to be a new normal. But everyone I'm talking to, and like when I'm talking with businesses, and even like with my company and other companies that I worked for in the past, a lot of the reports I'm getting is like, don't expect to come into an office until next year. Like they basically said, you're not coming into the office until earliest January, and even then we're not going to make you.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, um, so there's a lot of conflicting reports on that part, but um, I would say like, yeah, it's still kind of spiking and ebbing and flowing, but um, I mean, kind of the reports we've been getting is that Europe, it's kind of been chilling out. Like you guys have, you did your social distancing and you did what you were supposed to do, and things are slowly starting to
Hmm.
start to get to back
And
to normal.
just today in the news was
But it sounds like,
Russia kind of has the vaccine now. It's the first country who's
oh, really?
had yeah. I'm kind of, Russia is Russia. Let's put it this way. And from all, I mean, we all became epidemiology experts through these last few months. So from all what I heard, and I don't have any clue, of course, is that it takes at least 1.5 to 2
Yeah,
years to really test the vaccine and to see if it's safe and whatever, and so it's kind of, from what I know, and I don't know anything, it's kind of impossible that we
yeah,
really have a vaccine that's absolutely right. But anyway, we just announced it today that we have it, and we say it's good for it holds you over for 2 years or something like. But I think it's more like it will be something like a flu shot that you have to get every year, because this virus seems to evolve so quickly that you cannot really kind of
hmm,
box it in with just one shot. Anyway, we will have to see. At the moment, yeah, we're doing quite well, unfortunately. I mean, fortunately, here in Germany. So I'm back at work, and schools will start. I have a little daughter. So in
hmm,
2 weeks, I hope everything works out. Because yeah, we had a lot of home office and homeschooling, and it was quite tough for a while. Um,
yeah,
yeah, so yeah, like you, unfortunately, you just said it will become a new normal. I think so too. There's a pre-COVID time and a post-COVID time. We will have
hmm,
it's now. I kind of hurt. I'm kind of pissed off myself that I only played one little festival, and because I was always like, I only go to festivals if I play there, and yeah, and it was stupid. And we have Wacken. I guess you
and now
have
you're
heard of
paying for that.
Wacken, exactly. And now
Oh, yeah,
there is online Wacken and stuff. So I don't know how to deal with that. So yeah, I mean, my hope is
yeah.
really like
Oh, that's
in
definitely a dream.
yeah, in 1 or 2 years, maybe we have a real vaccine. Best case scenario would be, of course, that it will be
Hmm.
hold you over for a long time, and you don't have to get it every year. But then, we could have normalcy. Normalcy, is it the right word? Normally again.
Uh-huh.
Normality again. That's what I wanted to say.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I miss Berlin. I've been there a couple of times.
Hmm.
Ich liebe Berlin.
Yeah, that's a very
So
vibrant city. I've been there a couple of
I
times.
yes, I've definitely,
Hmm.
yeah, and I've definitely heard of Wacken. I've heard so many. I did like they would do the live streams,
Hmm.
for those that couldn't make it. So I would every now and then I would log on. Like I think I watched Arch Enemy a
Hmm.
couple of years ago on Wacken, and um, a couple others. But yeah, that talk about some dreams, that being able to play those venues or those festivals. Oh,
Yeah,
but
this would be great, and
um,
and it's not so far fetched, because Wacken became so big that we kind of have so many different stages, so that it's even possible for a
mhm,
smaller band to get on there, because we kind of, I don't know, we have almost a whole week where we play. And there has to be always something on the stage, and I don't know, now I have to admit that I don't really, but let's say we have 5 stages, and there has to be something
yeah,
going on all the time. So even, I mean, we have the main stages, and then we have the smaller ones, and then we have the fun stages, and then we had this contest for where we have like how you say pupil bands, from worldwide playing there, and so we have the different kind of things there. So that's why it wasn't impossible to get on there, because we kind of throw you away on 12 o'clock in the afternoon or something. But I wouldn't care, if I would play. I could say, I played in Wacken, and I don't care if it's 12 o'clock
exactly.
or whatever. So it's not so impossible. And I even had a slight contact with a guy who organizes Wacken, because I was just writing to him on LinkedIn. He's on LinkedIn, and he actually wrote back to me. I was kind of
Nice.
like, wow, this guy has time to write back to me. So yeah. Anyway, that's
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah. So it's. Um, I mean, you talked about this. You just sometimes have to start doing things. As I did this radio show before, I was talking with Sasha Konietzko. I mean, talking by email from KMFDM, and he was like, oh,
Oh wow.
because I wanted to make an interview with him, and he said, oh, we're not in Germany, we're not in Europe right now, and so maybe next year we come to Europe, and then we can because I wanted to have a live interview with him, I mean, like in person, but now I think I will hit him up again
Yeah.
and see if he can do a video interview. Because yeah, he just did some Rammstein. I don't know if you
Nice.
saw it, Rammstein remixes and stuff. So anyway,
Oh,
my
nice.
point is, you just have to kind of do it, and just start something. And this is what you kind of showed is working for you. I think you have a lot of
Hmm.
guts to stand alone on the stage, and this is coming from someone. I did acting. I played a lot of theater productions, and was in a lot of bands. But alone is something really. I mean, I don't know. How is your
Hmm.
no, that's the right word, anxious, stage fright level once you get up? Do you still
Oh
have
yeah.
that?
It's more beforehand. I mean, I'll be honest. I usually like before I start, I probably have a drink just to calm the nerves. But
Mm,
once I get up there and I start playing, I just don't care. Like I'm going to give it all. Like
mm,
it's like I turn into a completely different person.
mhm,
A different person comes over me, and
mm,
I am all over the place. Like I don't stand around. Like I am jumping, I'm running, stomping, like I'm and interacting and whatnot. So you just go out there and do it. I will say I meant to call this out earlier. Um, so I was fortunate that this week or this past weekend, the guy that is doing the vocal spot for "Take What You Give," he actually lived really close, and he performed that song with me. So he got up on stage and he performed the guest spot that's gonna be on the release that you're on.
cool.
And then as kind of like a repayment, like I've known him for like 15 years. I reworked one of his old songs because he used to write his own industrial music back in the early 2000s. And I redid one of his songs and we performed it live. And he never performed any of his old music live. He just recorded it and put it out onto MySpace
Hmm.
back in the day.
Back then,
But
yeah.
another thing that I do, um, is I'm a huge, I, we would say a closet fan, but I'm not like I am all out there. I love Ace of Base. Like I
Hmm.
love them.
Oh, me too.
And
I
I
like Ice of
bought
Base.
the
Mm.
album, The Sign. Like
Hmm.
I, I bought that album like three or four
Mm.
times because it kept disappearing. And I think
All
the
what
reason it was
she wants.
disappearing was my wife or girlfriend
Da-da-da-da-da.
was tired of me playing it. Oh my God. Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
So um, I do a cover of Young and Proud,
Mhm.
and I play Ace of Base live, with that song. And there was a female vocalist that was performing at this festival. Her name was Paula Hernandez from a group called Rain Over Me. Rain is in REIGN.
Mm.
Um, and she's phenomenal. And I just reached out to her like, "Hey, you wanna do guest vocals on this Ace of Base cover?" And she was like, "Sure." So imagine a female singing and death metal growling Ace of Base. And I got to do
Arch,
that. I
arch,
got to
and
do that
arch
this weekend.
enemy,
It was
arch enemy
so
kind
cool.
of style. Cool.
A little bit, not. I would say, it, I can't really explain it, but it wasn't quite arch enemy, but it was really cool. It
Hmm.
was just so cool. And I hope I get to work with her more in the future. But yeah, but kind of the point I was going to was it was really awesome to actually like share a stage with somebody again. Like
Hmm.
it's not just
Hmm.
me sitting there playing the music. And I think that's the other reason I like playing with Richard and Fleischkrieg is because, it is that where it's not all on me and I get to, it gets to kind of feed off each other. But I would say the first couple times I performed where it was just me, there was a lot of stage fright. Like
Hmm.
especially since I hadn't played in like 10 years. But like I said, I'll have like a drink,
Hmm.
warm up a little bit, and then I get up on stage and I just don't care. Like it is a whole other persona. Um,
Hmm.
whether it's 4 people or 400. So
Yeah, no, this is quite professional actually. Because, and the other thing, the good thing is like, what I really like with your attitude there is, you just do it. I mean, it's easy to say, oh man, I don't find people, and I don't that and this is so tough. But you found a way to do what you love, and you're just doing
yeah,
it, because it's, you know, this is kind of what, how you say this, the from the chaff, it separates the from the chaff. I don't know
oh,
the.
it separates the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah, the wheat, exactly, the wheat from the chaff, because you can easily say, oh, this is tough, and you will never make it, yeah, but at least you do something, and you're going out there, you meet new people,
Mhm.
you met this girl now because of you went out there, this is.
Mhm.
Exactly the point, Yesterday, oh no, 2 days ago, I was talking with one of my bandmates about it, because it's like, if you make music today, you get so much backlash. You will never make it. You will never earn a living and stuff. But this is not the
Mhm.
point of it. I mean, you first of all, you do something what is fun, that you really like to do. That's your passion, and you can connect with so
Mhm.
many people, and so there's so much more in it. Um, and just because, and that was my point I wanted to make, just because you have a very, very, very little chance, 0.0 chance of making it, doesn't
Mhm.
should keep you from doing it. So to get out
Yeah.
there, because if everyone thinks like this, there would be no new music, there would be no shows, no nothing, or anyway, or just here. What's the Rolling Stones would perform their
Mhm.
millions show or whatever, because I don't know. So that's so stupid and that's why I'm also, and I guess you're the same, support your local scene. For me, I said in the beginning, there's some music I don't like so much, but if I would come along, I would listen to it. And live music is something else. Even if I
Mhm.
wouldn't listen in my home to this music live,
Mhm.
I used to do a lot of medieval sword fighting shows, and there was a lot
Nice.
of course, medieval music I would never listen to. But if you see them live, in the right setting with fire, and it's evening, and you had some meat and stuff, then yeah, it's just fun. And when I would
Yeah.
dance to it, and just really really celebrate it. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, this brings us back to life is something different.
Yeah. I would say, for me, like there's a saying that a lot of people hear me say all the time is, you can't control what happens to you,
Hmm.
but you can control how you react to it. And for me, that's with everything. Like, yeah, that you can get a lot of backlash, you can get a lot of trolls,
Hmm.
and as long as your heart's in the right spot and you're doing it for the right reasons, like if you get enjoyment out of it, I mean, do I want to do this professionally to where I get to do it full time? Absolutely.
Hmm.
um, would love to do that, but it's if you're just doing it just to make money, people see right through that.
Hmm.
They
Exactly.
see right through it. and you're not going to go anywhere.
Mm.
But for me, I do it because I enjoy it and the feeling I get from it, and it comes across genuinely. And I used to, I had such a big problem where like I was always with these bands and musicians where we had opposing ideas and how far we wanted to take things. Um, and like I felt so constrained by
Mm.
the others I would be performing with, because some of them, we would have just opposing ideas of what the future looked like, or the level of dedication. And now, luckily, in this day and age, I've figured out a way to. I'm not going to let it hold me back anymore. So.
Hmm. No, I know. I hear you. I know exactly what you're talking about. This is anyway. Yeah. Maybe that's a good point to end the conversation, because I can also hear there's something going on, and we said we want to go for about 2 hours or something, and we are nearing the 140 mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much for the insight. I will send you all the links, and I will link to your accounts. Once I put this up, this also will become a podcast, of course. So,
Nice.
yeah, I will get back to you, and I will write some very Rammsteiny German lyrics for your song. And I'm gonna wait. Let's roll the R a lot. Yeah,
Lots of R rolling.
lots of R rolling, and okay, cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and maybe I will send you some things where you can give me some more breathing space or something. Let's see. I will work on it. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Thomas, Ceraphym, for your time and explaining who you are, what you do, and what we can expect from you. And yeah, I hope to hear more from you in the future. And all the best. And talk to you later.